Okay, why trigonometry? Where does it lead? What are we going to do with all this? Why are we doing and putting ourselves through this in the summertime? Waves. Believe it or not, we're going to go from right triangle trigonometry, geometry, straight lines. Then we're going to pull in this unit circle. And then in the end, when we, I'm giving away the secret too fast. In the end, we're going to map out trig functions on the graph. We're going to graph trig functions, and those graph out waves. Believe it or not, from right triangles to the unit circle, we get waves when we graph trig functions, and waves are found in nature all over the place. Any cyclical motion, like waves in water, waves in the air, sound waves, pressure waves, light can be modeled as waves. These are pressure waves, but we can model them as sine and cosine waves. Electricity, has alternating current. All forms of energy really can be modeled as waves. And pre-calculus is primarily the study of functions. And one group of these functions, you study linear functions, quadratic functions, polynomial functions, rational functions, exponential functions. Well, one class of functions is trigonometric functions, and they model these waves. All of these functions can model different phenomena in our lives, in nature, in the universe. And an important class of that is trig functions and waves, okay? So how do we build our knowledge to graphing these trig functions so that we understand what we're doing? Well, step one is just right triangle trigonometry. Okay, we're going to talk about all those favorites there, those 6 trig ratios, and then we'll really dive into the unit circle. I think we spend a lot of time there, depending on your curriculum, and lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, all that good stuff. We're going to do lesson 2 today. And step 3 will be, once we graph these trig functions, we get waves. Not all of them. You'll see tangent and cotangent acts differently. Sine and cosine act like this. So they're, I believe, the most useful. Okay, physics, medicine. Okay, so let's dive back into step 1 here. Let's go back here and review that. So what I want you to do, Kenda, is, just a little review here. I want you to pause the video here and take however long it takes you to write the trig ratios for angle theta. Okay, ready? Pause. Okay, so I'll go through them, and now that you've got your answers and you can see how you did them. Now you can see I grouped them kind of differently, right? A lot of times we read through them: sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, secant, cosecant, or whatever order you're used to putting them in. Let's group them like this, and you'll see why with the quadrants. And you maybe you've been grouping them like this anyways because you remember this from February or March. Okay, so I'll go through this. Tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2. Flip, right? You get 1 over the square root of 3. Multiply by square root of 3 over 3, or square root of 3 over square root of 3. You wind up with square root of 3 over 3 if you rationalize your denominator, right? Okay, what about cotangent? Well, that's easy. It's the inverse. So if you go back don't go to this one. You can. Or you can go back to the very beginning, adjacent over opposite, right? Cotangent, adjacent over opposite. It's the inverse of tangent. So if I just take this one I have, if I trust that I got that one correct, flip it over, inverse, right? Square root of 3. Now, if you don't understand that, if you don't remember messing with square roots and whatnot and fractions, we'll just ask me and I'll do a little review lesson of that. But if you're good with all this, just rock on. So there's our tangent, cotangent. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, 1/2. No problem. Cosecant is the inverse of sine. So you guys got to flip over 1/2. Boom, done. Okay. And then we're down to cosine and secant. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, square root of 3 over 2. And flip that over and rationalize the denominator again. So I got 2 over square root of 3 multiplied by, you remember this, square root of 3 over the square root of 3. I can multiply anything by 1. Remember, I'm dividing by itself. Square root of 3 over square root of 3 is 1, so I'm not changing the value, just change the way it looks. 2 square root of 3 over 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3, 3. Okay. If you're, I don't know exactly where you are, Kendra, so if that gives you problems, then I'll do a lesson on rationalizing the denominator or whatever. Okay, so if you got those, no problem. This is all a review. Great. And the next lesson we're going to do will be these trig ratios in each of the 4 quadrants of the plane. Okay, pause here, and that'll be our next video.